Towards the beginning of the year, I was having a conversation with a friend, and we began talking about my TEDxYouth, the DAA audition. Very confidently, I said, "Oh my god, I've been having so much anxiety over school lately. I swear, I think I'm gonna have a panic attack soon." However, whilst researching my initial idea for my TEDx talk, I thought to myself, has the word anxiety been normalized so much that it's the first word that comes to my mind to describe a mere feeling of nervousness? My question was answered the moment I opened the Snapchat app on my phone and began scrolling through my friends' stories. I couldn't help but notice the number of times I saw something similar to, quote unquote, "I bees so hard, I'm going to kill myself," or "School literally gives me depression." I'm pretty sure any high schooler listening would be familiar with these words too. However, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, anxiety refers to a nervous disorder marked by excessive uneasiness and apprehension, typically with compulsive behavior or panic attacks. So, why did I feel the need to self diagnose myself as someone with anxiety? And why do teenagers today not only normalize this, but actually embrace it? Today, I'm going to be expanding on three factors that contribute to the romanticization of mental illness in society, how this negatively impacts us, and what we can do to change our outlook towards this. As some of you may be familiar, Tumblr is a social media platform created in 2007 and is currently home to 369.8 million blogs and 153.5 million posts. Tumblr's unique value proposition that sets it aside from other social media platforms is that Tumblr users experience semi-anonymity. So basically, Tumblr members' usernames or profiles don't have to match their legal identity. This allows Tumblr users to interact with people that they do not know in real life. This distinctive feature has allowed Tumblr to become a hub for the gathering and growth of what we refer to as deviant or stigmatized communities. Now, this could be a possible reason as to why the site has attracted a large number of users from various subgroups, including those that might struggle with mental illness. This may seem like a positive development that all of these users wish to resist the culturally dominant, pathologizing discourse that depicts mental illness as something repulsive. But in the process, it has created a mysterious fascination amongst users towards what is referred to as Tumblr's dark side. Essentially, this includes content that is related to mental illness that saturates this website, including images and discussions of self-harm, depression, and eating disorders, as well as graphic images of self-injury, which often aestheticize it, depicting elegant visuals of razor blades lying next to or on a body part. Through this, the web community ends up supporting each other, not by encouraging the prevention of this behavior, but actually by normalizing it. The psychology behind this behavior of normalization stems from pushing back on stigma. Stigma resistance, which has become the center of the cyber community, is what has created a normalizing discourse on self injury today. The greatest negative impact of the romanticization of mental illness, however, is on the youth and occurs through these social media apps. In 2015, which was Tumblr's peak year, 43% of all users belong to Tumblr's lowest age bracket, which is 18 to 24 years. According to an article by Psychology Today, this age of adolescence creates such an impressionable mindset that, that research from the Smithsonian Institute states how brains are at their most vulnerable, dynamic, and highly responsive stage during adolescence. So, what actually happens from Tumblr's openness is that it arises potentially harmful support and even endorsement of behaviors such as starvation or self injury. Addressing the growing concern about the strong influence of social media on the adolescent mindset, research by the PEW Research Center has stated that a large number, 45% of teens, are almost constantly on their phones, leading to social media platforms being an important factor affecting teenage decision making. Following an act of self harm now, the rate of suicide increases to between 50 and 100 times the rate of suicide in the general population. As seen in the examples, Tumblr allows the youth to create a romanticized perception towards the idea of mental illness, making them think of it as something depressing or even hauntingly beautiful. a thought that could in turn adversely affect the mental illness of not only Tumblr users, but youth in society and future generations. Moving on to my second point. As clinical psychologist Dr. Jennifer Baumgartner reported to The Guardian, a primary purpose of your clothing is to create a perception of yourself for the people around you. Clothes create an impression about your type of employment, your personality, your ambitions, as well as your spending habits. Moreover, they draw attention to specific features that you want the people around you to notice. Scrolling through my favorite online shopping websites last month, I came across an unexpected accessory, a large, bejeweled hair barrette, spelling out the word anxiety in all uppercase. Not only was this crystal embellished hair clip designed by British fashion designer Ashley Williams, it also cost $133 and was sold out on 3 out of the 6 websites it was featured on. Over the next month or so, to further my shock, I began seeing a trend emerge. A large range of apparel, including but not limited to hoodies, sweatshirts, crew necks, and t-shirts, all highlighted with large slogans and texts, quoting words such as depression and anxiety. It was evident to me that this merchandise was definitely not targeted towards people diagnosed with these disorders. You would never expect someone with an illness such as pneumonia to wear a shirt that reads pneumonia. So why would someone diagnosed with a nervous disorder want to wear the label anxiety across their chest or their neck? Now, there is a positive aspect I see in these brands wishing to talk about mental illness and contribute towards making it less taboo in society. However, by romanticizing these illnesses and making them seem appealing through attractive clothing, it can be inferred that these large multinational corporations are simply attempting to capitalize on something trendy. The major downside to this scenario is that making these mental illness related labels prominent in fashion directly correlates them with something either glamorous or trendy. After all, who wouldn't want to wear the hoodie that reads anxiety or the silver necklace embellished with the words sad girl if all the influencers on Instagram are wearing it? What remains overlooked is the idea that people genuinely diagnosed with these disorders see people around them choosing to label themselves with a condition that they never chose to have in the first place. So, does this so called awareness and intended destigmatization of mental illness through fashion really serve its purpose? Or does it just normalize and belittle conditions people suffer from by portraying them as trendy? Touching upon my third point, I'd like to introduce you all to the Byronic hero. First evolved by Lord Byron in the 19th century in an attempt to deviate from the unrealistically perfect character of the conventional romantic hero, the Byronic hero is an archetype characterized by a greater degree of psychological and emotional complexity than traditional heroes. Byronic heroes often outrightly reject traditional societal norms and virtues and are distinguished by their emotional and intellectual trauma they have faced in the past. Portrayal of this archetype in the media we consume today can be seen in the characters of Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby, Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice, Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Phantom from The Phantom of the Opera, and even a figure that majority of the audience today would be familiar with, Batman. All of these characters differ from conventional heroes as they have taken upon what can be described in popular culture as the dark path. The Phantom from Phantom of the Opera is depicted as someone emotionally scarred but extraordinarily talented. This highlights the key problem in popular culture's portrayal of the Byronic hero, the depicted cause and effect relationship between mental illness and trauma, and exceptional talent and brilliance. As Caitlin Furcus has said, society has begun to believe that this dark path is a necessary precursor to brilliance. Media portrayal undermines the depth of the trauma faced by people suffering from mental illness, but instead sensationalizes it as something appealing, something that has direct correlation with success and talent. In a society where we crave shortcuts for success and media plays such a heavy role in shaping public perception, we need to be aware of how we are subconsciously being affected by concepts such as the Byronic hero. Now, how do these three topics relate back to us as an audience? Whether it be through influential cyber communities attempting to popularize their deviance, or companies and individuals looking to cash in on a perceived trend with no regard for its real significance, or even popular culture and media creating hyperbolized perceptions of portrayed characters by sensationalizing trauma and mental derangement, the romanticization of mental illness has led to one large undermined consequence: the normalization of these mental disorders. Stemming from an attempt to destigmatize these illnesses, people like me and you have been affected through minor things, such as our language usage. Now, going back all the way to my initial point, why did I feel the need to self diagnose myself as someone with anxiety? And why do teenagers today not only normalize this, but embrace it? To answer my own question, maybe I came across and was drawn to a Tumblr community filled with people who claimed to have anxiety and who created pretty posts about it. After all, doesn't everyone on the internet have anxiety? Or maybe I was on Instagram and my favorite Instagram model was endorsing a hoodie that read anxiety. Maybe I thought anxiety looked good on her and I wanted it too. Maybe I just watched Batman and was influenced by how his unstable childhood made him such an intriguing character. Maybe people would find me more interesting if I had depression. So I started using the word anxiety more often, and so did all my friends, frequently calling themselves depressed at the smallest hint of sadness. We never paid attention to our language, the biggest subconscious impact of societal romanticization. However, through self awareness, it is essential that youth and adults today are mindful of these negative consequences, and we ensure that the romanticization of mental illness that occurs around us today does not lead to the belittling and the trivialization of people who are genuinely suffering from these disorders.